Hello and welcome to Michael and Ivanka's Grand Podcast, a weekly podcast where we figure out what we think about stuff, and maybe you will too. My name's Michael Forrest.
And I'm Ivanka Majic.
And this week we've got no choice but to talk about The Waiting. As we record this on Friday the 13th. No, Friday the 6th. That's next week, is Friday the 13th. We're obviously, we don't know. It's been at 264, Biden 264 for so long now. Although on some websites, 253.
It's 253.
But I read about why. I read about why. It's 'cause,
do I care? Should I care?
It's because the media has to make a call, and a lot of the media made a call. I think it's is it Pennsylvania or one of those?
I don't know.
That some of them aren't reporting.
I said I don't know.
Even though there's not enough votes. Even though there's not enough votes for it to be taken. Yeah, we're just going to talk about The Waiting.
The refresh. Yes, 264. It's been for some time now.
So by the time this goes out, it's probably you're going to know, and either
we certainly hope so. Well, we might know the result of the count, but we may not know the state of the United States of America land, which could, all sorts of things could be happening, so many scenarios, so many possible futures right now. So anyway, so there's things about that, there's the uncertainty, there's the message to the world, there's United States of America leaving the Paris Climate Agreement, one candidate saying he'll rejoin, the other one going, I don't care about anything. A man who claims to be the president of a democracy with a reputation for going into other countries and bombing the out of them because they don't seem to understand what democracy is. The president of that democracy standing up and saying, according to the legal votes, I've already won.
Yeah. How are you, Ivanka? Aside from the pressing
very well.
situation.
Aside from the situation, the waiting. Whilst not waiting, we've launched the winners of the Bravos, the Brighton Restaurant Awards vote online. We thought we'd chosen the 5th of November some time ago, and thought because Bonfire Night had been cancelled, so we thought, hey, let's have a party about who's got a great restaurant. And then lockdown came. We thought, you know what, we'll launch them anyway. And then all the little videos started coming in from the people who had won, and it reinforced to me the fact that it was the right thing to do, because these people who in hospitality are really struggling to keep their businesses alive, need a little bit of a yay, well done. People do love your restaurant or your food or whatever it might be. So that's a very positive thing to be focusing on. And luckily that was yesterday, so part of my refreshing was visits to the website, which was way better and way more active than the 264 situation. My second story of the week, because I have two this week, that's my big, is one of, I think, self-learning and self-reflection, where dinner was prepared in my house and it was on the spicy side, and my daughter was lodging some complaints about the spiciness, and I was doing that, it's not that bad, it's fine, just eat it. Mummy, you can't know how it feels in my mouth. You can't tell me that it's okay. My mouth is burning. And I was like, daughter, never ever lose that. Nobody is I said, you are absolutely right. Nobody can tell you how you feel. So that was a good little moment, reminder to me, and an opportunity to go, yes, good. Well done. Well done. So
awesome.
There you go. How's your week, Michael?
Mine was good. I've got written here two things. The first is we finally ordered a veggie box delivery.
From where?
Abel and I mean, do we need to say where?
Go for Riverford.
Oh, Riverford. I forgot about that.
I'm an ambassador. No, I'm not. But I do love them.
Well, we got it. We got it. We went for the large one, but it's all leeks and potatoes and which I guess it's the winter. But then the fruit is all like bloody kiwi fruits, which are the worst fruit, if you ask me. small and annoying. So yeah, we're just trying to figure out what to do with leeks a lot this week. And we also did a big Sainsbury's delivery as well, so we've got so many potatoes.
See, you can have Riverford offer a box which has no potatoes.
Well, I mean, I don't want none. It's just we wanted to see what happened, but of course they gave us all these bloody satsumas and kiwi fruits. When I like a bigger fruit because it's quicker and more efficient to slice up in the morning.
You and your efficiency.
Very efficient.
I've got as an aside, we've got so many tangerines in our garden that we keep picking them and eating them, and you can't tell. Yeah, we've got 3 trees absolutely laden with fruit. We're like, So yeah, that's what's happening in mine. I
picked a little branch of rosemary off our little rosemary. Yeah. It's almost a sort of bush. It's certainly got a lot bigger. It took its sweet time to start growing. Of course, I planted it sort of next to the path, so it's just growing right across the path, even though there's loads of garden to the right of it where I just wish it would go that way. But yeah, the other thing I learnt this week, I've been watching this YouTube channel. It's got these who is this person videos, sort of like background on who the people are. The Trump one is worth a look, but this week I learnt that Mike Pence's full name is Michael Richard Pence, so we share both a first and a middle name. It's just an exhausting and depressing thought.
That is quite exhausting. At least you don't share a name with Donald Trump's daughter, so...
Look who I'm talking to. Look who I'm talking to.
So, could be worse.
To at Ivanka space Trump.
You are talking to at Ivanka space Trump. Yes, that is correct.
We're doomed. This 264 has just been... It's been a while, hasn't it? Like what?
Well,
how's it? Take us through your journey.
Well,
week.
As we know from previous elections, my new election tactic is to switch all devices off and go to bed. I do not stay up and watch any results coming in because I'm glad of that, because I maintain my disappointment on a good night's sleep versus disappointment on sleep deprivation. So that maintains. I mean, I was glad to not be woken up by a Trump landslide. Was my first, glass half full. Yeah. I was like, well, okay, it's not what I wanted, but... and then we've luckily been busy, I'd say. But I do keep dipping in, and then I come, and then Nick comes up to me and goes, "No, still not safe, still no." And then he goes, "It makes you feel really sick, doesn't it?" I was like, "Yeah." Every time you think of it, you're like stomach lurches in that the plane's crashing sort of a way. Oh my god. I sort of on the morning after the election, I woke up at sort of 5:30 and I thought I'm just gonna have a glimpse. And what I saw was like Trump at like 114 and Biden at like 200 and something. I was like, oh my god, it's happening. And then I was looking through the news stories and it was like these stories about Trump being like weird, like shuffling around a bit and looking a bit resigned to defeat and saying, oh, actually like being president's a bit because you don't get, my friends never invite me to dinner anymore, and I was reading that and thinking it might be okay, and then like I got up properly an hour later, and it was like Trump was had another 100 electoral college votes, and it suddenly seemed, and there was all shouting about fake news and fake votes and all that, and I was like, oh no, this is. And then just ever since then, you've been sort of watching. Well, we sort of saw Biden like take a lot, and then it's been 2 days, like 48 hours of watching him at 264, just going, is this ever like? And you just have to be patient and just remember that It's really the thing.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing we can do about it. Is one thing, and until we know, there's nothing we can do about it. Like, it's sort of on top of a situation in the world generally that's quite uncertain, and then we've got these, like, you know, these kind of things that you want to hold on to as being some sort of like stake in the ground, and then they're just not materializing as some sort of safe handhold that you can sort of step one.
It's just, for that hour though, like that between 5:30 and 6:30, it was a time of okay, I can think what's next, and that's what we want, isn't it? If like a Biden victory would mean, please God, let it come through by the time this is out. Like, it's like, okay, we've got room to breathe again. We've got room to think. Like, this guy, hopefully, like before long. Like, we're seeing enough Republicans saying, Trump, stop being anti-democratic, please. I don't get my news via Facebook. I get it via Apple News, because the idea is that it's supposed to be sort of curated and a bit less sort of optimized for anger, in theory. I'm sure they're still doing loads of, like, I'm sure obviously selecting the popular articles by some algorithm still, but I feel like it's a less algorithmic approach, certainly, than glimpsing stuff that comes through your Facebook feed, or even just only looking at the Guardian website, or only looking at the BBC. And I'm sort of seeing enough stuff on there, I don't know, to make me feel like he's like, I don't think he's sort of talking about legal action if he loses, but there's no lawyers present, and who's going to even attempt that?
I mean, what's funny is sitting on the Balkans, listening to the radio in the morning with the sort of the newsreader from Split speaking to the newsreader in America, going, so, you know, what's this about Trump suing? What's that about? And the woman going, well, you know, he's saying that if that he'd like to stop the votes being counted, and she's like, yeah, but that can't be right. That doesn't sound legal or democratic. And the woman in America going, well, no, it doesn't. But, you know, and we've
got a new normal now, and nothing is real anymore.
No judge should say that it's okay and side with him. But, you know, that's what. So it's like, and I think that is what Biden offers us. He doesn't. It's not that he necessarily offers us particularly hope, I have to say, but he does offer us this absence of ridiculousness. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day who has many American colleagues, and she said watching them and the cognitive load of living with Trump as a president, it must be. I mean, it's stressful for those of us who aren't American, aren't necessarily directly affected by everything that he does. But if he was your actual president, I mean...
Yeah. It's how are you supposed to even think about... And, like, Bruce is coming through on Slack with all this, how are we really going to solve the world's problems, stuff like this. And it's like, I would love to be able to think about all that. Yeah. But at the moment, all I can think about is, can we just get on into some sort of situation where a conversation can actually be had between two people? Because, like, apparently we have to go back to, no, racism is bad, Nazis are bad. Can we just agree that Nazis are bad, please? Like, what happened to that? and all this kind of thing. And it's like, how can we even think about sort of a vision of the future when we're fighting this situation? I detest the way Trump hijacked the conversation about gerrymandering and voter suppression by changing the subject to, no, the Democrats are stealing votes. So he didn't even get to have that conversation as part of this election, which is an urgent conversation for America to have. I saw that. What was that? Like, that one state has 70 times more power than in California. Like, they've got an absolutely bizarre way of counting the votes. I never really thought about, like, Hillary winning. Like, 3 million is a lot of votes.
3 million more people.
Which to win the popular vote and to still lose an election. It's absolutely incredible that they've still got this system. And then the gerrymandering, like these borders they draw around poor communities in order to be able to sort of overall sort of like win it by just cheating. And so Trump changing the conversation to Democrats cheating when it's public Republican strategy that's been going on for a long time, voter suppression and gerrymandering. And obviously, and I hate that we don't even get to have those conversations because Trump is just like bullhorning absolute lies and nonsense at everyone.
But just to remind you of what you said to me, I think it was last week, it's like whenever he's accusing anyone of doing anything, it's usually, he's doing it. It's and he knows he's doing it. To stand up and say he's clever on the subject of whether he's clever or not, as you mentioned earlier, he's clever enough to know that if he stands up and starts a sentence, his opening sentence is, use it with the legal votes I have already won. Like, he knows exactly what words he's choosing.
Conveniently, legal to him means a vote for me. That's the only definition he believes in.
Yeah. There's so many interesting topics. There's like, one thing is like, sort of on the voter suppression, and even in the UK, the number of a higher turnout and a higher number of postal votes indicates generally a more Labour inclined electorate. So the more people you get out to vote, the more likely that, the more, and that's true of America, which is why he doesn't want the postal votes. But it's like been a big chess game he's been playing. That there was that whole thing where the postal service got whatever drama they were having. It's like he's been working at this. Has been his campaign strategy. Has been to win through criminal means.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
like
that's
tin pot dictator.
Totally,
that's his strategy.
Totally.
He loves Kim Jong. I watched one of these. Who is Kim Jong Un? He's the current one, isn't he?
I don't know.
Kim Jong Un. He when he came to power, he killed like 360 of his political enemies. As soon as he came to power, this was the guy
in
North Korea, and this is who Trump likes, and he likes him because the guy probably charms him in the way that Trump charms people. Whilst getting away with doing whatever they want, because Trump is just such a lightweight when it comes to any sort of negotiation that you can just flatter him and he'll go away, and then you can do what you want. And he talks like he's this deal maker, tough guy from private sector. I'm very smart. No, you're just an idiot. Like you're just these leaders know you're an idiot. His whole yells to stop the vote mean if they stopped now he would lose. It's so bizarre.
But I don't think he's right. I don't know how what could he be other than not quite right in the head?
It's gaslighting. He just gets through life with gaslighting. He just decides what he wants the truth to be. I think he decided ahead of time that he expected to be ahead, and then called to stop the counting, but he forgot that he's not ahead and still went ahead with his dictatorial plans.
What you were saying about, I'd like to be getting on with fixing some of these other problems in the world, but I think this is helping us all see how much work there is left to be done. We may have all lulled ourselves into some sense that progress was being made, and it has been for sure, but not for enough people, or not in enough ways, or I don't know. It just feels a bit, it feels disappointing.
It's an uphill struggle, and even if Biden scrapes through, it's still absolutely bizarre that 60 million Americans, tens of millions of Americans, continue to be taken in by, what more does he have to do to tell you that he's not up to the job? What more? 230, like in the time we've been waiting for the votes to be counted, more people dead than in 9/11, right? Like 3 or 4 days under Trump's reign, like 9/11 numbers. You were really upset about 9/11, remember, Americans? And now you've got a guy that is killing that many people, that many avoidable deaths every week, less than a week. And what's he doing about coronavirus while he's complaining about this made up voter fraud? Like, he's just ignoring it because it's nothing. It doesn't care.
But how do we give him a graceful exit from this failure so that he just off?
Well, when I saw that thing about sort of like he's sounding a bit like deflated, I just had that hope that maybe he'll just like, why does he even want to be president? What does he get out of it? Like, he can be just as famous without being president. He doesn't like the job.
I'm just waiting to find out who's behind it, who's talked him into it, and what they're getting out of it. Do you know? It's like, it's not.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that $400 million debt is someone's like forcing him to do it, and because obviously, like, he's done so many tax breaks for the ultra rich that it's not a big stretch of the imagination to see that he's been. But I watched this, I watched the start of it. There was a Vice watching the election results with Trump supporters. And you hear the way that it's going to be terrible if Biden wins, and Trump, we need Trump. The economy, money-wise, the country's going to go to hell. And it's like, you realise like Trump's like ramped up your national debt by like more than anyone else, right? It's something like this. That's one of the biggest. He's lost more money than just about any other president. I need to double check the facts. Maybe I'll do a voiceover fact checking Santa theme. So I found something that says about Trump creating more debt than Obama, 5.7 trillion versus Obama's 5.1 trillion. So, you know, but I saw the graphs and it's like, are you serious? Like, what? Do you even check any of this stuff?
But I don't think, no.
They don't.
No, they don't. And I think it's, you know, like, I believe there are many factors that have brought us to this, but and I'll go back to education. And I know there are educated people who buy into Trump, but I think those people are doing it for deliberate self-serving reasons, and they understand themselves to be of conservative value. But there are go on, do your bit.
Even Ben Shapiro was denouncing Trump this week. I
wrote that down. I couldn't remember his name. I wrote TikTok guy.
TikTok guy. Yeah. At least, like, even like conservative, like people that love writing that were like, what are you doing?
Whoa. He went up in my estimation from minus 7,000 to minus 6,999. But yes, It's like there is a difference between somebody who's been duped, properly duped, and I think ruling classes and powerful people have always duped the I don't know, less powerful, but he has done it on such a phenomenally grand scale. Really,
it's absolutely disgusting.
It's totally disgusting, and he sends out this. Go on.
It's just baffling that so many people can be so like gullible, so blind to it, so gaslightable. It's like, I just keep coming back to that's how he lives his life. He just imposes his reality on other people because it's easier than he doesn't bother.
But that's why I was so delighted by my daughter's adamant position that I could not know how much her mouth burnt from the dinner. And I think, you know, like you were talking about electoral reform basically and making it truly representative, and the UK's got a similar problem. It is, But so I think electoral reform is really important right now. It's like one of my emerging themes of things to care about more than give them more attention than I have is electoral reform. but also early years education. Reading story, you know, Mona that we used to work with at LBI, she's got this charity drive to raise books for children in schools, little children, and she goes to read to children.
Right.
That's you know, it's stuff like that. It's, I think, giving children things to think about when they're little enough and they've got the sense of, you know, they're kind of have this opportunity to perhaps help them shape into humans that can go, no.
Yeah. There is the obviously the media, the whole media, Facebook. Like, definitely education is in such a shortfall, and it's such a low priority for conservatives.
Yeah.
For some reason, but then you've got this. We're just under assault by these algorithms that just want to make us angry with each other, and nothing's being done about that. Like when I first saw. Because I first saw the different vote count on Facebook after I'd been looking at the Apple News ones and like a couple of other ones. It was like, why is it lower here? And then I was remembering, like, Zuckerberg's, I think he's like a little bit friends with Trump, isn't he? He's I think, a little dodgy. Yeah. Did you see have you seen the Fred Sassy, this Sassy Trump video that came out, Peter Serafinowicz, but it's this deep fake of Sassy Trump investigating deep fakes, and it's got like this Mark Zuckerberg advert. He's selling like he's the dialysis king. Come now, we got the prices, and it's just Mark Zuckerberg like deep faked into this thing, and it's kind of amazing. Like, I'll definitely share that one. But I think Zuckerberg is kind of happy to be inching the world in the direction that he's moved it. I don't think he doesn't seem to have any qualms about it. Like, we saw him being grilled by AOC, and he just didn't seem to. I think it goes further than not wanting to take responsibility for it, and that's kind of I was seeing that, but obviously then I learned a bit more about why that number was different. I thought, okay, fine, there's loads of people, and that remembered all the stories about developers within Facebook and content people within Facebook, kind of uprisings, and like I think he'd find it very hard to institute something like that without a lot of whistleblowing. But still, I think if you nudged him, if he were to nudge something one way or the other, I don't think he minds nudging it towards destruction. I used to kind of respect that he'd made Facebook so compelling by just pushing beyond the boundaries of what most things would consider an acceptable approach to privacy. I thought it was like, you've sort of turned the digital thing, which has always been very sort of walled off, into like you can sort of look over someone's garden wall and kind of say hi in a way that, which I kind of felt was a positive, but now we kind of see what happens if you extrapolate that, and you start selling ads on that. It turns into something really disgusting. So I think Zuck, don't trust him. I don't trust him.
He sits on his pile of money, pretending, being all Lord Bountiful and pretending to hand it out to charitable things of his own choosing. It's that kind of stuff. It's just, having that. It's just narcissism, pure and unadulterated narcissism. That's what's, that Trump thinks the world revolves around him for whatever, and that's such it's such a massive weakness in a personality, I think, to actually be that easy, because of many narcissists that I've worked with surround themselves with people that go, oh, that's really good. Yeah, what you said, boss, you're really clever. And it's like, it's just, it's not value. It makes you weak, but it also makes you very strong. I think it's like, if you're that inward gaze, that kind of limited and cut off, you then can simply plow forward without any care for anybody else.
If you don't care about anyone else's perspective, and if you don't care about other people, you like what this is exactly what we'll get. I was thinking this morning about what's wrong with conservatism? What's wrong with this idea that you need someone cutthroat in order to make money, in order to be successful as a nation? What's wrong with it is that approach to life, where you try and get one over on the next person, where you exploit the letter of the law, where you try and sort of trick people, you lie to people, you find ways around sort of acceptable, social norms in order to get what you want. Why that is a bad thing is because it breaks it for everyone.
Yeah.
With billionaires, they're just breaking money for everyone else. With Trump, his efforts to just win this election by whatever means necessary literally threaten to literally break the democracy itself. And I think that's a conservative value. I think, like, if you think Machiavellianism and like finding ways to get, if you see everything as a zero-sum game where all that is important is that you've got to get one up on the other person, you just break the system. And that's why it's not sustainable. And that's why every so often, like, you get this socialism, like, like left uprising, because it's so broken that it's just clearly not working anymore. And you have to come up with something that starts to work for more people. And I just, the way Trump behaves and the way a lot of these the people that take $1 billion, if they're behaving in that sort of, we're just going to trick other people, they just break it for everyone, and it's not good. It's not good enough.
I don't think the socialism versus conservatism works anymore as well, because it's like, actually, we've got, on the electoral reform, it's not just about being able to vote for the person. It's also, I think, we've talked about this, and you had your blank state thing, what if you could vote for on all the individual bases. But I think getting people to find their points of agreement without it being labelled.
Absolutely.
Do you think everybody should have a free university education? Yes, I do. Brilliant. Right, how can we do that? Not, that's a socialist value. And you see all these gleeful lefties at the moment going on Twitter going, Sunak's extended the furlough scheme. When socialism gets done to you because there's no other way. It's like, you won. Your badge won. And Trump is very much, that whole thing is all about like labeling someone in a certain way so that they're an enemy, so that they're an outsider. And we're all, and I know I'm guilty of like using conservatism more and more as this kind of the other side language. But I think I have absolutely no problem with conservatism and leftism when they're kind of towards it's kind of like a different angle of more or less the same thing. It kind of used to feel like it was like, maybe you do want someone that's a little bit more kind of assertive on your team, but they're still kind of trying to do the right thing. But now that it's been sort of pushed out further and further, pushed out further and further to the right, and then this myth, I don't know, it's just getting pushed out further and further, being more and more polarized, and you kind of, it becomes less and less useful. I'm not sure.
So more and more poisonous.
I've also had this like thinking this week of whether that extreme left is the counter argument to the extreme right or not. I don't know. And it's really hard. And because again, it's my Twitter has this sort of. I actually actively try and follow a few people I don't particularly agree with, but. Nobody. I'm not that much of a martyr, but there's this sort of glee at the moment in this far left gang, who I just think like this isn't about winning or being right. It's about things getting better. You're like it's like
so much of politics though is about being right, isn't it? Like the House of Parliament, it's like who can pwn the other person, like it's just, and it's so and hollow, you see, it's so counterproductive.
You see all these arguments at the moment, because like in the UK at the moment there's all this stuff happening, especially watching from the outside, whereas the government's not doing its job as a government. Like children who normally have free school dinners aren't covered in the holidays. The government fails to fix that. the restaurants step in or other organisations, and charity steps in. We've had that conversation about charity. It's like, well, where's society going if you can't rely on your government to do the basic, or it's trying to like elbow people into a situation where charity has to. And then I was doing this thing, like walking around thinking, well, what's wrong with people helping each other? Well, why is that? Why don't, what's that? And then I was like, you know what I mean? And it's so but me wanting to help people and people helping each other doesn't detract from the fact that I do pay my taxes. While there's this whole government tax thing going on, let's have some consideration for how those taxes are being used, rather than funding your mate's projects.
Yeah, I would like to help, but also I would like the government to be sensibly and like fairly allocating the wealth, and not leaving the EU because they're scared of not being able to have tax havens for billionaires anymore. Which, if that's going well, isn't it, Brexit?
That's going really well.
Do a last segment where I just want to tell you about this program I've been watching, Lovecraft Country. Have you seen it? Have you come across it?
No.
So whenever I think of how I started to gain a lot more empathy for the experience of black people in America, so I'm sort of going to tie this into the sort of weird shock that America would vote for Trump, and say what this Lovecraft Country does. I mean, it paints a very unflattering picture of America. Like, it shows you the nasty racism very recently and how that was accepted, like murder of minorities, and it was just the police would just like string you up. That like this, like you have this kind of, this is a sundown county, so basically saying, like, if you're outside after dark as a black person, the police force will murder you, kind of thing. And this was in America, in living memory. This was happening. Lovecraft Country is amazing because it's like, I don't know if you are familiar with H.P. Lovecraft, but this is a sort of this cosmic horror author. So it's this social commentary, but it's wrapped in this cosmic horror. So you've got I don't want to spoil it too much, but you've got but I will. So if you just want to go and watch it, I don't think I've said enough to make you want to watch it. Just skip like a minute or two ahead. But like, there's this like this potion that this black woman takes in order to be a white woman, and then she goes around and walks around as a white woman. But then it's like this she has to be like peeled out of this skin really gruesomely.
Oh, wow.
And she like gets her revenge on the white boss man, and it's just horrible. Like and then you've got it's not just like black people, white they do this thing where the white people are sort of, the racists become the sort of cannon fodder, in a way. They're the people that you're happy to see murdered by the ghosts in the haunted house, kind of thing. So the enemies are these racists, so that works quite well. But you've got the white guy who's into magic, wanting to go back to, he's creating a portal to the Garden of Eden. So he wants to go back and find out Adam's magic or whatever, and get back to the Garden of Eden, and it's all like Adam and Eve, like, and he's sort of in charge of this cult, and no women are allowed in the cult, and that's his goal. And then the black woman who goes and finds this mystery and finds this magic, she goes forward into the far high-tech future and kind of becomes this cosmic traveler that can just will herself into any time, into any situation, and just experience that world. She just sort of becomes this omnipresent, not omnipresent, but like this ultra powerful being. So really incredible visually. But I was just thinking, like, of course black people want to push forward into a future that is fair, and white men want to go back to when they had everything the way they wanted. And I just thought, that makes so much sense. And it's you don't see a lot of like sci-fi. It's Jordan Peele is one of the creators of it. So it's got that Get Out stuff going on in it, which I hope you've seen. If you haven't, you've watched that probably. It's horror, but it's like, again, like a sort of social comment. It's sort of mixed in with like there's a lot of social commentary in there, but like the way this does it, it's not just about black. It's about like they've got the Korean War, they've got all sorts of different crazy stuff. Got Indiana Jones stuff. Just really visually, you're just mad. But like the social commentary stuff, I just took that away from it this morning. I thought, of course, make America great again. But it's regressive, and it's because you used to be able to control all these people that are now talking back to you, and you don't like it. And
that's the one thing, or the biggest thing, I think, in a weird way, that gives me hope, is because I do see people like Trump and Johnson and Cummings and all these people are like that sort of like thrashing around of a bunch of people who are losing power because things are changing. They don't like it. They still have power, but it's no longer, it's not just my granny that had the vote and my mother. It's now me and my daughter. There are more and more of us who will smash the patriarchy, and they will. It just might take us a little bit longer than we may have thought we'd got further than we have, but I see it's just a control thing. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and TV isn't Friends anymore. It's not like white people everywhere anymore. There's more and more representation. We're learning about more and more kinds of people, and you can't fight that tide. You can't put that back in the box. Sorry, Donald. The desperation that you're showing is. I mean, sorry, because we don't know the result yet, but we've just got our fingers crossed that we can.
But even if we can't, even if he does win again, that there's even less time. There's whoever wins. This is not a time to be despondent. This is a time to crack on, because there's a lot of work.
Yeah, terrifying amount of work.
Yeah.
Oh, Donald, you can suck my bum. Oh, Donald, try not to blow us to kingdom come. Oh, no.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, go to grandpodcast.com and subscribe. Make sure you're subscribed. These episodes are up on YouTube as well. Video, you can see our faces if you're not looking at them now. Where can people find you on the internet?
People can find me at Ivanka on Twitter.
At Ivanka Space Trump on Twitter. You can find me at Michael Forrest on Twitter. Come and try donegood.app. Come and to goodtohear.co.uk and try my other stuff. I'm getting more and more organised around that. Just go goodtohear.co.uk maybe is a better place, because I've got Done Good listed on that. I've got my other things listed on that.
And also go to restaurantsbrighton.co.uk and check out the winners of this year's Bravo Awards.
Brighton Restaurants and what is it? And
Brighton Restaurant Awards, vote online. Bravo.
Okay, I see. All right, and hooray, or either way.
Brace.
I'm not going to say hooray or cry. I'm just going to say brace. I will see you next week, and we'll probably have some thoughts about the results, won't we?
We will indeed.
Original or not. Bye.
Bye. This is my Zoom wave.